What's the most, "Are you really that stupid?" thing you've ever heard? I knew a couple in my hometown. They were both out drinking, and he decided to drive them home. Both drunk. He gets pulled over, and they impound the car and take him to jail for the DUI, and the officers decide to drive the girl home. She gets home, gets in her car, and drives to the police station to pick her boyfriend up. The officer noticed this is the same girl they just drove home, and they arrested her for drinking and driving. Well, maybe she just felt guilty about getting off, and she just wanted to share the cell together. So my grandpa's cleaning lady was making fun of me for believing that the ozone layer exists. She laughed out loud at me and said, "Then how did the rockets take off from Earth without crashing into it?" And continues to laugh and make fun of me for it for a good 10 minutes straight. I was so baffled that I just let her go on. Well, there have been a lot of rockets that have exploded during the takeoff, so maybe they did just crash into the ozone layer. A former coworker of mine and I were walking through a department store during the holidays. There's an area dedicated to ugly sweaters, and one had the Star of David all over it. My coworker points to it and said, "Oh, isn't that the sweater for the Jewish holiday? What's it called? Holocaust?" I wish her the best. Yeah, something tells me Jewish people don't really celebrate the Holocaust too much. My family and I were watching a program on TLC about cavemen. There were actors dressed up like cavemen, doing caveman things, as the narrator explained the scientific theory around what they thought their lives were like. My sister was just in awe watching this, mouth slightly open, eyes wide open. During the commercial break, she asked the room, "How did they get the cameras back there?" We will never let her forget that she said that. Yeah, you really have to wonder what would be more difficult in creating this documentary. Reenacting a scene, or building a time machine and going back who knows how long to just catch it on camera. You know, I feel like even if you did have a time machine, it would probably be pretty hard to find an exact time and place where there were actually people there. I had a customer yell at me that their donuts were supposed to be buy one get one free instead of half price. I had to explain how half plus half was 1. Never understood it and just sneered, "Whatever," at me and had me cancel their order. You know, technically 50% off is slightly better than buy one get one free, because that implies that you can get away with buying just one and not having to pay the full price for 2. When I worked at a chemical facility, we had a genius production supervisor who figured out that you could increase the RPMs of the mixer without overheating the batch if you just remove the mixing blade. So it's just a shaft rotating inside the drum of viscous liquid. Then he blamed the guy running the QA testing, me, when the batch failed badly. Yeah, it turns out it's also a lot more efficient to spin your rims on your car a lot faster if the car is propped up and the wheels aren't touching the ground. This middle-aged woman I work with at a fast food place was drinking a glass of super sweet tea when these words came out of her mouth. "My doctor said that I may have diabetes. I don't understand how. I never eat sugar." You gotta wonder how many people think that the term of eating sugar means that you just take a bag of actual just sugar grains and then just eat that plain. Me, while watching a semi-friend do 10 separate ATM transactions, I say, "Why are you taking out $200 from the ATM in $20 increments? You're just adding up the $2.50 fee?" He says, "It all adds up in the long run." I say, "No kidding, it adds up to you wasting money." He says, "No, trust me, it adds up." Rather than trying to understand him, let's just let him do his own thing. A phone customer says, "Can I pay with cash over the phone?" Yeah, just list off the serial number that's printed on the bills, and then I will input that, and then the cash will appear in my hands. During a Color War trivia game at summer camp, we were asked to name places the Olympics has been held. Someone mentions Athens, and the girl next to me started to lose her mind laughing. I asked her why, and she responded, "Isn't Athens that place from Harry Potter?" I don't even know what she's referring to, so if you have an idea, go ahead and leave a comment. My friend thought that due to time zone differences between the US and the UK, you could place a bet in the UK on an NFL game that had happened in the US and cheat the system because it hadn't happened yet in the UK. You know, this reminds me of my favorite joke when it's New Year's Eve over here, and I'll message people in like Australia or Europe and be like, "Hey, no 2022 spoilers please, it's still 2021 here." I was on a school trip to Germany, and we visited the casino in Baden-Baden. One kid asked, "Do the Native Americans run the casinos here too?" I almost fell over. Yes, the act of gambling was invented by Native Americans, and they are the only ones who are allowed to practice it. When I was in the Army, I had a soldier that was a very good human being, but was in no way, shape, or form a good fit for the military. He was clumsy, unathletic, and generally aloof. I tried to get people in my team to teach classes to the rest of the team. I found it helped them build confidence in their skills, and taught everybody else the stuff they might not know as well. So it was a win-win. For example, I had one person teach basic first aid. I had my SAW gunner go over tearing his gun apart and cleaning it and putting it back together. Basic stuff like that. I asked this private what he wanted to teach, and he's like, I don't really know, Sergeant. I asked what he was good at, and he was like, history, or I could do hacky sack. Again, a good guy, just aloof. Then he said the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, and I once convinced another guy in the Army that the Louisiana Purchase went bad, and he was going to be French at the end of the month. But that's another story. So we had a dress uniform inspection every month. You'd get your Class A uniform ready, clean and pressed, medals on, brass polished, go outside in formation, wear it for about 15 minutes, and then do the whole thing over again the next month. The night before the inspection, I walked through my soldier's room and inspected their uniform to make sure everything was in order and nothing was missing. I had to take another guy to an appointment 3 hours away that morning, and 10 minutes before the inspection is supposed to begin, I get a phone call from him and he drops this bomb on me. He says, Sergeant, my pants don't work. I say, what the heck are you talking about? How do they not work? He says, I can't close them. I said, did you get fat this month? I saw you wearing them last month. I saw you wear pants yesterday. What exactly is the problem? He says, they're not working. I can't get them closed, and I think my dry cleaner sewed my pockets upside down. Hold up, your pockets are upside down? Are your pants inside out? Says, I don't think so, Sergeant. I'm not that dumb. Okay, humor me and check. Says, they're not inside out. I told you. Okay, try putting your hands in the pockets and pushing them all the way down. Should I take the stuff out of them? Please do. Whoa, Sergeant, it worked. My pants work again. Well, I have to go, inspection and all. I'm aware. The dude's pockets flipped upside down to the inside of his waistband, and he had them so full of crap that he couldn't close his pants. He was 21 years old. I'm still absolutely in awe that the Army saw fit to give him a grenade launcher. Yeah, you really just have to love the saying, my pants don't work. It's like, what was supposed to work on pants? Like, did they get a virus? A few years ago, I was traveling in Kenya, and a few of us shelled out for a safari. Our guide was great, and at one point said all the names of the animals in Swahili. Simba is lion, for example. An American then asked, did you always call them that, or did you decide to change it after The Lion King came out? I really wanted to apologize to the tour guide in that moment, who had to respond with respect to that guy. Well, when you bring in the amount of tips that those guys do, I don't think you care too much about stupid questions. So the following exchange is offered verbatim. She says, that suit would look great on you. So me, checking the price, I say, too bad I don't have $900. She says, just use your credit card. I say, I still wouldn't have $900. She says, what are you talking about? I say, I try to pay off my balance in full when I use my credit card. That's more than I can afford right now. She says, that makes 0 sense. Nobody pays for credit cards. They give them to you. I say, not the card, the balance, the bill. She says, what bill? The credit card bill? The one you have to pay every month? No, you don't. Okay, well, I guess you can make minimum payments, but... She says, what are you talking about? You're making 0 sense. If you don't like the suit, just say so. I say, I do like the suit, I just can't afford it. Using my credit card wouldn't magically make it so I wouldn't have to pay. She says, you don't have to pay for credit cards. What is wrong with you? I say, wait, do you mean that you've never paid your credit card bill? She says, there's no such thing. Credit cards are so you don't have to pay. It eventually came to light that the young woman had been given her credit card by her parents, who paid the balance for her whenever they received a bill. This revelation only occurred after I'd been accused of trying to make her feel guilty for buying sweatshop clothing, though I never did figure out where that connection occurred. See, I still just don't really understand how somebody can have this mindset and not just go, blow millions of dollars on the card, because if everything is free with it, then there's nothing stopping you from just buying every single thing. So even if the parents have a $100,000 limit and are paying it off regularly, still there's probably going to reach a point where it's going to get declined. But maybe she's just a very responsible reckless spender. I work at an animal shelter, and a woman asked me if they had any dogs that didn't poop. I told her, no, all dogs poop. So she asked about cats. Yeah, maybe it would be better if this person just sticks to having, a pet rock. World history class in high school. This girl really asked me how we won in the American Revolution when the Germans had airplanes. I had to remember to breathe. Yeah, all history kind of just blends together. It was all just one big history, so, things just tend to overlap. So I was blowing up balloons with my own air with my wife prior to a party. She says, no, don't blow the balloons that fall to the floor. Blow up the floating balloons. So I say, what? You need to use helium for that. She says, no, you're just not bothering. That's what it is. See, that's when you just say, okay, you do it then. Show me how it's done. A woman once asked me if Antarctica was really hot, because Mexico is south of us and it's really hot, and the other countries are south of us and they're really hot too. This woman was 40 years old. Does it really take 4 decades for somebody to think You know, I really don't know anything about the world. Maybe I should figure some things out. There's always a 50% chance of rain. Think about it. It will either rain or it won't, so that's gotta always be 50%. Oh man, I'm sure statistics majors really love whenever they hear this logic. When I worked at a call center and someone said, Q for cucumber to me. So wait, how would that actually be spelled? Something like this? A girl on my bus in high school always had to be the center of attention. We were on our way to a field trip somewhere. I don't remember where, but she all of a sudden proudly screamed out, "My boyfriend gave me ear sex last night." When someone finally asked her what she thought ear sex was, her answer was, "We stuck Q-tips in our ears and moaned for a couple hours." Whoa there, that's getting a little bit too intimate to share. A previous coworker of mine thought that when looking at images of hurricanes, what she was seeing was the ocean swirling and not clouds. She had a bachelor's degree. I mean, that would really be a sight to behold if you could look in the ocean and just see a whirlpool that's 1,000 miles across. I was driving with my mother on a pitch black night. My mother said that the stars weren't out because there was no moon for them to reflect off of. Love you, Mom. Oh, okay, so the moon is just a disco ball and you need the sun to shine off the moon, and then that will cause it to sparkle and shine the lights all over the sky. The girl I used to date was convinced that used cars came with insurance. We went out to look at cars for her one weekend, and on the way to the first lot, it came up in conversation. She absolutely did not believe me to the point that it was almost an argument. The salesman told her the same thing, so she demanded we go to another dealership. We visited 4 dealerships that day, and all of them told her the same thing. Relationship didn't last much longer, but earlier this year she was pulled over and arrested for a litany of offenses, including a DUI. But surprise, she had no auto insurance. Yeah, if only insurance worked more like warranties, maybe you'd feel less like you were getting ripped off. I was explaining to my mother-in-law that the reason why my hubby and I were having fertility issues was that I don't ovulate properly, aka I don't release an egg. She thought about it for a moment and asked with all seriousness why we couldn't just use one of my husband's eggs. I just looked at my husband and tried not to laugh and stated that only women have eggs and men have sperm. That is pretty basic biology. Well yeah, if the guy has to have the sperm and the egg, what do we need women for? We could just make the babies ourselves. So I play basketball, and this one day we got talking about shooting percentages. So this one kid would try to convince us all that when you would shoot 0 shots and obviously make 0, you shot 100% because you didn't miss. He started this like 2 years ago, and still when people bring it up, he says he's right. You know, if this were actually true, if you tried looking at the NBA statistics and tried sorting everybody ranked by their shooting percentages, it would just be completely topped with bench warmers who never play. In Wales, we got the option to use an ATM machine in either Welsh or English. So myself, a Welsh friend, and an English friend were at an ATM. My English friend asked my Welsh friend why he's always using the ATM in Welsh. His response was, "Well, less people can understand Welsh, so less people can read my PIN number." Yeah, okay guy, you tell about your dumb friend, but you just said ATM machine and PIN number in the same post. But anyways, hopefully you enjoyed more of the stupidest things people have ever said. You know, I'm actually kind of amazed that we're still hearing like new posts that are not just repeats. But hey, it works for me and keeps the channel going.